ranking systems in wrestling really bug me because I feel like they should be easy. They should be one of the simpler things to pull together. Like, it should have built-in storylines. I know AEW kept it up for a while, but I think they finally started to stop referencing it. I can't remember the last time I heard them mention someone being in the top 5. And they definitely haven't shown the rankings on screen for a while. WWE started it up some years ago for like a month, and the best storyline they could get out of it was Randy Orton was jealous that someone was ranked higher than him. To me, they should be really simple approaches. Like they should give you all the built-in storylines. If you don't know what you're wanting to do with someone, you can just look at the rankings and then build off of that. Like I figured AEW's was going to tank when Pac was number 1 ranked, and then he fell to like number 2 and then number 3, and all he cared about was that someone beat him. It wasn't a matter of he lost his number 1 ranking, he was desperate to get it back, he should be competing for the title. He's never competed for the title. He was number 1 ranked, he lost it, and then that was the end of that. And at the same time, Cody just walks in and declares that he's going to be challenging for the title out of nowhere. So at that point when I was like, their rankings aren't going to last, they're not going to hold, because they're not using them in the appropriate way. Then what I figure is the appropriate way is number 1 ranked should always be who gets the championship match at the pay-per-view. And when you're dealing with AEW that has like 4 pay-per-views a year, you have plenty of time to appropriately build something like that. And you can do all sorts of storylines out of it. They're not number 1 contenders matches. They're defending their number 1 ranking. And all these other matches, like when Brody Lee attacked Jon Moxley and he wanted that championship match, like he's not ranked, or he's not number 1 ranked, so he can't get it at the pay-per-view, but he can get it on an episode of Dynamite. Random challenges can happen then. Because I'm also a big believer that champions shouldn't be having to defend their titles on the regular. They should be the people that have earned the right to kind of sit back a little bit and relax some. And then when something like Pac happens where he loses his number 1 ranking, then he can, be on a storyline to fight to get his ranking back. I also think that when you lose a title or you lose your number 1 contender's match or your attempt for the title, when you lose one of those, you shouldn't immediately be on the rankings still. So if you're number 1, you go in, you challenge for the title, you lose, you're off the rankings. And now you're having to work your way back into the top 5. And that's how you can have a guy with a really good win rate ranked number 5, because he already lost and now he's working his way back up. And the same thing for a champion. If the champion loses the title, he's out of the rankings. But you're trying to get to that rematch, so now they're fighting their way back up the rankings so that they can be the guy challenging at the next pay-per-view. I just feel like it gives such easy storylines, but it's trying to do feuds and trying to make feuds go for longer periods that really mess with the rankings. I mean, some stuff would be fine, like the Acclaimed. Everybody was super into them and they didn't win the tag team titles. And instead of letting them go back on like another winning streak and building back up to being number 1 contenders again, they just got a rematch and then they won that time. Which, yeah, I mean, everybody was into it, but at the same time, there's just a lot of story that you can do there. And it's really frustrating to watch so many companies kind of blow a ranking system. WWE's old one was so goofy because it was just very arbitrary. People would jump 9 points because they had a match. Someone would drop 10 because they lost to a guy that was a couple of points below them in the rankings. It was just insane. I think someone even went up just for cutting a promo one time. I loved watching their original rankings because they didn't mean anything. They didn't affect matches. They didn't affect storylines. It was just a random thing they threw on WWE.com, and it was hilarious. I loved it. I mean, I could even get behind something dumb like that coming back. And then it still leaves the door open for things like the Royal Rumble or was it the Casino Battle Royal? All of these various things where someone who's not ranked can have a chance to win. And I think those should be people that aren't in the top 5. They should absolutely be opportunities for people who aren't getting them right now. It's like, you want a shot? This is your way to do it. And then you win a guaranteed match. But AEW does that, and they have so many so many random shows like Battle of the Belts, if they can put those sort of matches on and give someone an extra opportunity instead of it being a pay-per-view main event, or they can win these opportunities to be added into those matches because the number one ranked will always get his match. And then, of course, if something happens to the number one, it's the number two that gets the match. Something happens to both of them, it's the number three that gets the match. You can even build storylines around that. It seems like it's such an easy thing that should make a lot of your booking decisions a lot simpler. Oh, we don't have this guy ranked. They're going to go on a winning streak. This guy's number 4. We want to push him a lot harder, get him up to number 1. Our number 1 ranked is not who we want the next guy to be, but we can do something by having them lose that spot and then not gain it back before the pay-per-view. And then now we have a storyline we can work with on that person too. I just feel like it should be easy. I hate watching it fail on companies because I feel like it should make everything so much simpler for them. But that's just me.